We're going to go ahead and start so if everybody can get their seats. It is a lot of people, which is great on this fabulous January afternoon today to be able to celebrate not only the beginning of this great project, but really highlight something that's very important to our office, which is not only the great affordable housing that's going to be coming from this project, but the opportunity to provide really fresh food here in what is acknowledged as a food desert. And so we wanted to take some time to be able to celebrate all of those things, as well as the groundbreaking for the Good Foods Market. So, again, Happy New Year to everybody. Welcome to Ward 8. This is a great way to start our year. These kinds of projects cannot happen without lots and lots and lots of people being responsible for it. So on the DEMPED side, the Deputy Mayor for Planning and Economic Development side, very much want to thank Sabangale Cook, Karima Woods, Andrew Trueblood, Jessica Carroll, Jasmine Turley, as well as many other members of the DEMPED team. We also have Philip Sambal and the Good Foods Market team that will be speaking, I think, a little bit later. The developers, City Interests, and Michael's Development. This project could not happen without financing as well, and so we have our, again, 2/3 of the housing trifecta here, which is Polly Donaldson, the head of the Housing Community Development Department, and Todd Lee, head of the D.C. Housing Finance Agency. So thank you all for being here. We are obviously located in Ward 8, and we have had strong support for this project from the Ward 8 council members. So Trayon White, thank you very much for being here. He'll be able to speak a little bit later. And then finally, the person who makes all this go is our mayor. She is one that has said very firmly, as well as very consistently, that we need to be making sure that we're providing opportunities all over the city. And I think that this project is a great example of how we want to do that. I have 3 jobs. My jobs are to make sure that we are focused around affordable housing, make sure that we are focused on tax revenue, which provides for many of the public services here in the District of Columbia. And I need to be focused on making sure that D.C. residents get jobs. And so this project, which is taking an opportunity for a piece of land to have a great use to provide affordable housing, to provide additional tax revenue to the District of Columbia, and most importantly, as I was talking to some of the CBE contractors on this project, being able to hire D.C. residents for jobs is a great example of projects that we want to continue to support. And one of the special reasons why we're here is also an opportunity to have the opening of a grocery store. And I think that the Good Foods Market stores, which some people may be familiar with in other parts of the city, it is great to see their expansion and how aggressive they believe this Bellevue community is, and how important it is to provide fresh food here in this neighborhood. One of the things that we, the city, with the mayor's leadership, launched about 2 years ago is something called the Neighborhood Prosperity Fund, and it was really trying to take advantage of an opportunity. What we saw is that we had funding for affordable housing projects in the city, and we had support for some of the other sort of perhaps more complex funding opportunities, tax increment financing and so forth. But what we didn't have was an opportunity to really focus in on some of our medium-sized developments. And in particular, we wanted to be able to provide support to some of the retail or parking or other office build-out for some of those medium-sized developments. But we wanted to tailor it. And so what we said is that we were only going to be providing money in census tracts that had greater than 10% unemployment, and that was purposeful. I think the mayor actually said yesterday in her swearing-in ceremony, we need to be focused on providing opportunities all across the city, but we particularly need to make sure that we're not leaving people behind. And so that is the point of us being able to focus our funding for the Neighborhood Prosperity Fund on projects like this and any other project that's in a census tract that has greater than 10% unemployment. The mayor has tasked us with being thoughtful about how we drive economic opportunity to the Ward 8 community. We've got to provide jobs, small businesses, and affordable housing. Last year, if people remember, we were just up the street at the St. Elizabeth's East project, opening the entertainment and sports arena. We also were able to break ground right across the street right before the end of the year on a great affordable housing project that's going to be located across the street from the entertainment and sports arena that's also going to be providing family-sized units, which we know is something that we have heard is in demand and something we know that we need to be focused on being able to provide. The work we do requires great partnerships within the community as well. Our ANC 8D Commissioner, Olivia Henderson, has been a voice for the Ward 8 community, demanding that Ward 8 have the same opportunities as residents in other wards. I was speaking with the commissioner just before this. She said that she's been working on this project for 2 years, and so I know that that is a labor of love, so we very much appreciate her and many of the other community groups who I know have been involved in meetings and presentations and making sure that this project provides as many positive benefits as possible. And so it is my pleasure to introduce to you Commissioner Henderson. Where'd you go? There she is.
Good morning, everyone. First of all, I want to say thanks to everyone for coming out for this wonderful day that we're going to share with the residents. I know he said Commissioner Henderson, but Commissioner Henderson couldn't do it alone. I have a whole ANC team that works along with me, and I want to just give recognition to them. Commissioner Carmen, Commissioner Dio, Commissioner Glenn, Absalom Jordan, and also Connie Mobley. Over here in 8D, we definitely work towards great weight. We don't do it as an individual commissioner, so much praises and thanks to the commissioners. I'm not going to be here long, but I do want to give recognition to the city interest team, Mr. Novak, Dirk Mitchell, and Michael Hardis. I know ANC 8D is a force to work with, but we got it done, and we do appreciate you all working with us, ensuring that the residents over here in Ward 8 are given the same service that all residents are given throughout the District of Columbia. So thank you for allowing us community space that we worked for so long to get. We will have community space here within the building. Everybody know this is a food desert over here in Ward 8, and now we have brought fresh food over here to Ward 8. We're going to have a community center, and like the mayor said, throughout the District of Columbia, we're now going to have affordable housing for all. So this is not for anyone that's new residents coming in. The residents that's already living here also can take an opportunity to move in such a beautiful place. So, and last but least, I want to thank the Congress Heights, let me get this right, the Congress Heights Training and Development Corporation. When they stated that they was going to come here, and that's Monica Ray and also Mr. Baldwin, throughout the term, they have always came to our ANC meetings, shared updates, told us that Ward 8 residents will have the opportunity of taking on job opportunities here, in which many Ward 8 residents did, and we appreciate that. It was just a partnership. We couldn't do it as an ANC. It was the developers. It was the outside businesses that we all came together and ensured that this project will be a success for all residents over here in Ward 8, and we thank you for that. And also, Councilmember White, thank you for being a part of this also. So I'm only here, and I'm honored to stand here to introduce our second term, Mayor Muriel E. Bowser.
Well, good morning, everybody. I am really delighted to be here. This is the first day of my new administration, and we are in Ward 8 to celebrate a lot of hard work getting done. So let's give all of our appreciation to the community members that we just heard from, Commissioner Henderson. And let me give a special shout out to 8D because they're progressive. They're about housing. They're about quality development in their community and making sure it gets done. We were with 8D recently to open short-term family housing in Ward 8, and I hope that we're going to be in 8D a lot, producing the type of amenities that people want and deserve right in this Bellevue community. Give them another round of applause. I, too, want to recognize Councilmember Kenyon McDuffie from Ward 5, who leads the Council's Committee on Business and Economic Development. I think we share the view as people born and raised here in Washington, D.C., and seeing corridors all around the city develop and making sure that we learned the good, the bad, and the ugly of that development. And put intentional plans in place to make sure other corridors are developed in ways that bring needed amenities to communities, but don't take them over. Are you with me on that? And that is our pledge. Indeed, Brian is right. We talked yesterday about what the next 4 years can look like in terms of how we attract housing and development and jobs in our city. Because the truth is, in some ways, these are the best of times in Washington, D.C., but we have a critical issue that too many people aren't participating in that prosperity. So our focus is how do we use that tremendous interest and demand for people being in Washington, D.C. to turn it around and make investments in building more affordable housing and improving skills and attracting jobs for D.C. residents. And that is all of our responsibility. I think what we heard from yesterday, also from all the members of the council and everyone who spoke, is that each of us has to be committed to making more equity and more prosperity across the board around the city. The main point, however, that I wanted to make yesterday is that we can't do it in our own silos. We can't, 8D can't do it alone. Ward 8 can't do it alone. Ward 4 can't do it alone. Ward 5, you get down the list. We have to do it together. And just like you have to make some decisions in your own household, sometimes you give a little bit over here and you need to give a little bit more. So you have to take a little bit over here. Are you with me? You have to do that at home, right? I do. I don't know about you guys. I got to do that at home. And that's what we have to do in the city's budget, too. All right. We have to say we have to do a little bit more right here this year. And maybe next year we'll do a little bit more right here. But I'm going to need your help because when I came into office, I said we would be at all 8 wards administration and we would make the biggest investments in areas that didn't have those investments before. That's why we took a huge bet at Congress Heights and built an arena that would attract other development. And that's why we see that affordable housing development happening now. That's why I proposed the first ever TIF. That's the economic development tool that we've used from Chinatown all over Ward 2 and all over Ward 6 to create development, jobs, daytime activity that will attract retail in Ward 8 as well, the first ever. We want to work with you to get that done. And that's also why we are right here. This project really embodies what people tell me they want all over the city. They want great quality housing and they want space for local retail. And local retail that's going to offer fresh food. And so that's just a wonderful thing that community members, the development community, and the government have worked to make happen. So to Brian Kenner and his team, the Great Streets team, Polly and Todd Lee, who are here, and your council member, who is also very focused on making sure that we don't just concentrate on buildings, right, Trey, council member, that we concentrate on the people that these buildings will serve. And I'm equally happy that we can say that we've been able to do that in the last 4 years and we'll do it even more in the next. We've seen unemployment go down in our city, especially the deepest decreases have been in wards 5, 7, and 8 in the last 4 years. So DC residents are working. We've seen our commitment to small businesses double. When I became mayor, we were spending $358 million of our local dollars in DC small businesses, CBEs. And this year we reported spending over $800 million with our CBE community. So these things are what circulate our dollars throughout our city. So let's get ready to celebrate, but let's first hear from Councilmember Trayon White.
Good morning. First, I want to thank everyone who participated and made this project possible. I grew up about 2 blocks from here, so I remember when there was a Murray Steaks here, Snyder's, that was about 15, 20 years ago. Remember that, Olivia? The liquor store was here. And so when we talk about building the community, I always talk about building people, but this building represents not only building a building, but building on the people right here in this community. As I look back and I see CJ, oh, he disappeared. Where you go at? CJ and Ms. Jennings, who are Ward 8 CBEs working on this project. That's very, very important. So I want to thank Mayor Muriel Bowser, Deputy Mayor Brian Kenner for their commitment to excellence and supporting small local businesses here in our community. I also see Councilmember Kenya McDuffie here. Give him a round of applause. And I want to thank you because I went to you 2 years ago about trying to figure out how we can address the disparities when it comes to grocery options here in the ward. And I know this is one of the projects because AD was adamant about making sure we got a grocery option and an office space here. So special thanks to AD. You remember we had that meeting over here in Trinity Tower that night? And you all was going hard, as we say in Ward 8. And adamant. So you are a great commission and you work together. I know we have differences sometimes, but we all got the same thing in mind. And you all fought for what we want in this community. So as I look at the numbers and I talk about real affordable housing, I know this is a 100% affordable housing unit with 20 units going for extremely low income households. That's excellent, right? Because a lot of times we build buildings throughout the city and attract people to our wards and part of our city, but we forget about those indigenous people that's been struggling here in the 80s and 90s to live here. But this unit is going to serve those residents and also allow for other businesses to come here to give back to our community. We also have 20 units for permanent supportive housing for homeless in our community. Well, we want to welcome new people. We also want to serve the people here who are struggling as well. And so we talk about a holistic project. This is an example of what we like to see here in Ward 8 and all across the city. I want to thank City Interest, Michaels, because we've been in communication with them to ensure that they're doing meeting deadlines and hiring people from the community and giving back and make sure we have quality. I'm going to say they're a quality construction project, and that's very important here in Ward 8. So I want to thank those who have been a part of the project, who's put their hands to the ground, who invested. I see Monica Ray in the back as well, who's been making sure that happens. And I want to thank everyone for commitment. Thank you, Polly, Todd, for making sure we get what we need on this side of the river. And we're looking to do much, much more. Thank you. God bless.
Thank you, Councilmember. I want to give Councilmember Kenny McDuffie, chair of the Economic Development Committee, to come up and give a few words. Councilmember.
Good morning. I'm going to keep my remarks very brief, but I didn't want to miss the opportunity to come over and support Mayor Bowser, support Trayon White, and support these agencies that are doing this remarkable work, and to support the community that has for a long time been clamoring for these types of investments. My name is Kenya McDuffie. I live in Ward 5, and I represent Ward 5 on the council, but I chair the Committee on Business and Economic Development. And this project right here, Madam Mayor, is a quality example of business and community-oriented economic development. When I look out and see the folks in hard hats who are our small businesses, we know that we're making investments in our CBEs, and that's definitely something that's been a priority for Muriel Bowser and for Trayon White and the work that we're doing down at the Wilson Building. When I look and understand that you're going to have a quality grocery store, you're going to have quality, affordable housing, and space for the community, I think that's a trifecta that everybody deserves to give themselves a round of applause for, particularly ANC AD. Good Food Markets. I'm so excited that you all are going to get one, right? Because we got one in Ward 5 on Rhode Island Avenue. I was just there on New Year's Day. And what Philip Sambo and the folks are doing there is nothing short of amazing. I was so happy that we were able to support them early on with the small tax break to make sure that they can do that work on Rhode Island Avenue. And I say do the work because beyond getting quality food options and getting some groceries and getting that good fresh food from DC Central Kitchen, they're hoping to build communities over in Ward 5. They're supporting our community garden over in Langdon. They are hosting our students at John Burroughs Elementary School. And most importantly, they are hiring people from the community where they are located. And I know that's been a priority for Trayon White when he talks about making sure that you are building up communities. And when you make those investments, you're actually investing in the people. That's exactly what I see going on here. And so I want to thank you all for the work that you all have been doing, the agencies that are doing the work. And Madam Mayor, I think it deserves repeating that the first day of the second administration for you, your second term, you're doing it right here in Ward 8. Let's give Madam Mayor a round of applause for doing that. And thank you all for letting me be a part of this.
Thank you, Councilmember. One of the reasons why we're here is because under the mayor's leadership, the deputy mayor's office, Sabangale Cook, and our Great Streets team had a competitive process, and we awarded a $880,000 grant to allow for the Good Foods Market to be able to open here. And so I want to have an opportunity for the Good Foods Market folks to come up and just say a little bit about what the community can expect when it comes here, as well as all the good things the Good Foods Market is doing. So I'll welcome up the Good Foods Market team.
Morning, everybody. I'm Chris Guerin from Good Food Markets. Philip Samble, my co-founder, also Oasis Community Partners, our sister nonprofit. I'll be brief. Philip will talk a moment about the community-led vision for what we're bringing here, because it really has been a community-led vision and a community-driven process. I want to just quickly say that from a Good Food Markets perspective, I spend a lot of my time around the country talking to other groups, other cities, organizations, and projects like this are really few and far between. It's very, very hard to bring quality grocery, fresh food to a food desert. It takes an awful lot up and down the scale, and it's a public-private partnership. It's a for-profit, nonprofit partnership, and it's really in D.C. that we have found fertile ground for this effort. It's an effort that hasn't worked well in a lot of other places, and here in D.C. we're creating a template that is it has momentum, and it's growing, and it's going to be something that people are watching and imitating around the country as we're successful. So I wanted to thank Mayor Bowser, our old neighbor, Councilmember McDuffie, our new neighbor, Councilmember White, and everybody else here. I'll turn it over to Philip, but we're so excited to be here. We really appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you, Chris, and thank you to Mayor Bowser for your support of this project, Deputy Mayor Kenner, and everyone at DEMPED, Sabangale, for believing in us way back to the Great Streets program in 2014, Councilmember McDuffie, and Director Whitfield and the DSLBD team who've also supported. It was 4 years ago this month that we opened the original Good Food Markets on Rhode Island Avenue in Ward 5. But we're the new kids on this block, and we're really pleased to be joining ANCAD, Trinity Plaza, the Bellevue Public Library, Community of Hope, the DHS, CSOSA, Secrets of Nature, the 190 households that will live here in this amazing new space, as together we collectively create a culture of health and food security for the residents of Bellevue. You know, as Chris mentioned and others have said, this is really the culmination of the work of many, many people, including the hardest working team in retail at the original Good Food Markets in Ward 5, who are showing every day that people actually do want to buy fresh fruits and vegetables. Our friends and family have put their resources on the line for the belief that food is a right, not a privilege. To the local lenders at City First and Enterprise Community Partners, who, despite the challenges of grocery retail, understand that your zip code should not determine what you get to eat. The advocacy organizations like DC Greens and DC Hunger Solutions, who've kept the spotlight on food and demanded that people not only take notice but take action. And the thousands of residents who've worked together with our elected officials to accomplish what many other cities have struggled to achieve. This work is far from easy, but more necessary now than ever, as economic pressures displace residents, industrialize food, pollutes us and our environment, and antiquated systems cling to their diminishing power. As we look to the future, I'm thrilled to work with everyone here today and all those who will inhabit this space in the year to come to create a hub for healthcare, housing, education, living wage jobs, and fresh food for the residents of Ward 8. Thank you very much.
And I'd be remiss, too, if we didn't just quickly thank Jonathan Novak and the City Interest team, who've really been instrumental in bringing us here and who've been a true partner throughout, and we really appreciate their partnership.
Great segue. I'm going to invite actually Jonathan Novak as well as Nicholas Bracco from Michaels and City Interest to come up and provide a few remarks, and then we'll be almost finished. Gentlemen.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. City Interest and the Michaels organization are excited and proud to be here today at this truly groundbreaking event for Good Food Market's new flagship location. It's a market with convenient access to healthy, hot, and delicious and affordable food choices for neighbors in Ward 8's Bellevue community. Realizing essential neighborhood conveniences on this dynamic DC Great Street, including access to healthy food, is key to City Interest's redevelopment vision, and that we put together with the community for its 2-acre block of South Capitol Street. In addition to Good Food Markets, these conveniences include the 195 rental apartments offered at affordable rates, with a community room and ANC offices, a new DHS service center, and a new Conway Health and Resource Center, all immediately adjacent to a new Bellevue DC library. This is a redevelopment that benefits existing DC residents and encourages new DC residents and new DC businesses to arrive and to thrive here in Bellevue. Together with my City Interest partner, Peter Farrell, we want to thank everyone who helped to make this day happen. Thanks to our colleagues Michael Hodis and Derek Mitchell. Over 10 years, relentless efforts. Thank you. And many thanks to the Michaels organization. Thanks to the late ANC Commissioner, Teresa Jones, and the late Mayor, Marion Berry, both driving progress on our 2-acre block redevelopment, even now. And thank you, ANC 8D, Commissioner Mobley, Commissioner Henderson, for what you have already done and for your hard work ahead. And thanks to all neighbors for continued patience during construction. We want to thank Deputy Mayor Brian Kenner and the entire DEMPED team for the NPF grant, and Mayor Bowser and Director Polly Donaldson. They came up with this tool, NPF, to finally thwart the technical restriction against ground floor retail and affordable housing developments. I can't stress enough how groundbreaking a tool this is for this city, and I'm excited to see it be used throughout to realize the mayor's vision for prospering neighborhoods. I really recall having a public conversation on this with you, Polly. And you did what you said you would do. You drove it home for this project. Thank you. We want to thank Chris Guerin and Philip Samble for their leadership at GFM. Chris and Philip will do whatever they can so you'll shop local. Success depends on community support and involvement. So be relentless every day. Make this place yours, your home, to shop, to ask, especially for what you are here to shop for that isn't. To break bread and enjoy one another, to work, to learn, to make right here your great DC neighborhood experience. As I and others have mentioned, this day has been a long time coming. When we would discuss how some things were neither quick nor easy, my hero, elder partner, and now late father Alan would say, I might not get there with you, but it's worth doing. He could always see the mountaintop. Thanks, Pop. Today, we thank everyone who's worked so hard to make such a worthwhile endeavor possible. Keep climbing. Thank you, and God bless.
And there was me. Funny, it's a grocery store, groundbreaking, and I'm the person between you and lunch. So I will do everything I can to be brief. Good morning. My name is Nick Bracco, and I have the privilege of serving as the Regional Vice President of the Michaels Development Company for our Mid-Atlantic region here in Washington, D.C. Hanging on the wall in our corporate headquarters in Marlton, New Jersey, is a gold frame mortgage, a mortgage that was taken in the year 1975. A mortgage that's stamped on the right-hand upper corner says paid in full. That mortgage was issued by the U.S. Department of Housing and urban development and represents one of the very first affordable housing communities that the Michaels organization ever developed. 40 years later, we still own and manage that community. During those years, we've been able to reinvest, recapitalize, and renovate those homes. I mention this because 4 decades later, we're still a part of that community, and I can pretty much guarantee that 4 decades from now, we'll still be a part of that community. That's the commitment that we make to you folks, to the citizens of Ward 8, and to Washington, D.C. We're excited to have the South Capitol Apartments. We partnered with City Interest and now Good Food Markets to provide this opportunity to those residents. At Michaels, we say our mission is to provide solutions for cities that create housing that lift lives. We work towards that mission every day, focused not only on creating well-built, high-quality, affordable housing, but on other ways we can invest and serve the residents who live there. We like to say we invest in what matters. This typically means working collaboratively with our various nonprofit partners to provide supportive services or fresh food, and it also means providing educational opportunities. I'm happy to announce or report that all of the residents who live here at the South Capitol Apartments will be eligible for an opportunity to receive college scholarships through the Michaels Educational Foundation. Timing is everything, right? Since we created that foundation in 1991, the first of its kind in the affordable housing industry, we've been able to invest $7 million in college scholarships for our residents across the country. We hope to have lots of South Cap scholars in the years ahead. Mayor Bowser, Councilmember White, Councilmember McDuffie, Deputy Mayor Kenner, and all of the other political and governmental leaders joining us today, I'd like to thank you for your leadership, vision, and guidance along the way. Your support is so appreciated to the work that we do. I would also like to thank the ANC members and the community stakeholders who have been with us and with City Interest long before we even showed up to the party as well. Your commitment to serving your community and your neighborhood is something that needs to be recognized, and we thank you as well. It truly takes a village to get these developments off the ground, and most of the folks have been thanked at least 3 or 4 times already, so I will just thank a couple of folks who haven't. Hickok Cole, the project architect, for designing such a beautiful building. Prestige Building Company, our general contractor, who's working to actually build it. The folks at Michaels Management, who will be here long after the development folks are gone and will integrate with the community and make sure that the property is operational and a community asset for years to come. And last but not least, I couldn't, despite the fact that they've been thanked already, not thank the various financing partners who have partnered alongside of us. DCHFA, Todd, DCDHDD, DEMPED, JP Morgan Chase, Bank of America, the Federal Home Loan Bank of Pittsburgh, and that's everybody. That is. So I'm sure I missed somebody. I always do. So please accept my apology in advance. Again, this is an exciting day for Washington, D.C., for the residents of Ward 8, and for the Michaels organization. We are privileged to be part of this development. Thank you for joining us, for your support, and we look forward to seeing you all very, very soon at the grand opening. Thanks.
Great. Thank you all very much. At this point, maybe we'll take some questions, potentially from folks. I'll invite the mayor to come up, and then we'll do that just for a few minutes, and then we'll get to the actual groundbreaking.
Questions? Okay. Yes. The ribbon cutting, I'm told that we're going to be open third quarter or fourth quarter of this year, so in 2019 after October. I wanted a more specific date for you, Denise, but that's what I got too. I think they're shooting for the third quarter of this year. Questions? Yes.
It's obviously, you said for affordable housing, that has been a big complaint, is that nobody can afford the affordable housing. How is this going to be different?
Well, you've asked a complicated question that is, just by virtue of us standing here. I'm not going to give a full, all-out complicated answer. But what I will say is this. We have been very focused, Sam, on improving our affordable housing pipeline in Washington, D.C., because you're exactly right. For all of the great things happening in our city, it's becoming more expensive to live here, especially with housing. And so using our tools, we doubled the Housing Production Trust Fund, and we've created other tools that have already been discussed. And in 4 years, we created or preserved 6,000 units. We know in the next less than 10 years, by 2025, we have to create 36,000 new affordable housing units in the District of Columbia alone. And so we're calling on every neighborhood in the city to be a part of that. Ward 8 has more than stepped up. This ANC commission has more than stepped up. And we are going to continue to ask each ward and each neighborhood around the city to be a part of our new affordable housing goal. So what you've heard, and Brian will remind me of the total unit breakdown here, is that we can come on a street like this that has great transportation access, the bus service, and now it will have a new grocery where 190 units are right above it. Library behind it, medical facility behind it. This is we have a DHS facility just down the street. So this is the type of new production that we want to have. And it's going to look great. It's not going to stand out across the street from great buildings that already exist here. So we need substantial development like this, and we need more of it across the city. I'm sorry? The people who live in this neighborhood currently we will. I'm going to ask Brian to describe what it will cost to live here.
So this project, and one of the great things is anything that's funded by the Housing Production Trust Fund has certain stipulations. And one of those stipulations is that 80% of the Housing Production Trust Fund has to go for projects that are at 50% of area median income. So that's a family of four making $60,000 to $65,000 a year. So 100 or less. 100% of the units here are going to be at that price point, but there's also a significant number of units that are going to be at 30% of area median income, which means a family of four earning $35,000 to $40,000 a year. Plus, as Councilmember White mentioned, there are at least 20 units that are going to be permanent supportive housing units. So that's effectively almost 0% area median income. So although the sirens are coming in, I think that there is what this project shows is that there are a variety of different price points, but all of them are going to be affordable.
That he said there are basically $800,000 to subsidize the store. Is that a lot to give to a private entity to open a store here?
Yes, it is. And that's what it takes. And that's what we're willing to do. And it's a lot less than we've done in other places for other types of businesses. Yes.
It says here, Mayor, that there's going to be training provided for 100-plus people per year. What is that training?
I'm going to ask Savangale or Brian to talk a little bit more about, is Congress Heights training doing that? Good Foods is going to provide the training opportunities. Sure.
So since we opened in 2015, we have conducted professional development opportunities for all of our staff members. As Councilmember McDuffie mentioned, we hire local residents. We are 100% D.C. employees right now, many of whom from Ward 5 and from the surrounding community. We've operated the SNAP Employment and Training Program in conjunction with DHS and Union Kitchen, where we trained over 50 adults in hospitality and food service. Programs similar to those will be offered here in conjunction with neighborhood organizations.
Yes, ma'am.
It warms my heart to see this here. I just want to say, though, there are many people who will qualify for the affordable housing but have bad credit. That has stopped a lot of people, I understand. So is there going to be any support for people who to get their credit together or whatever to help them to be qualified?
Well, that's a great question. The question was about how we make sure residents can take advantage of opportunities like this, and some people needing second chances with the credit fixes, and the like. Now, we have had some experience recently. You may have heard that I created a landlord, what do we call that fund? Landlord Tenant Fund, and it's been privately funded. And we ask landlords to partner with the city, especially where residents have some kind of benefit from the city, to say, look, this resident doesn't have perfect credit. This resident may have had an eviction history even. And if you take a chance with this resident and something goes wrong, then you can tap the resources of the Landlord Fund. So that's one thing. We also have another program that may be helpful even for projects like this, in the St. Elizabeth's project on Congress Heights, and we still have that going. The Home Buyers Club, which says to folks, look, we're about to break ground, start building. You have a year, you have 2 years to be prepared for these opportunities. Participate in this Home Buyers Club with us. And that may be something that we think about for all the rental and purchase projects that we're building, because you're right, we want people to be able to take advantage of these programs as well.
I have a question.
Okay. Come this way. Okay, we're on to community questions now. Okay.
My name is Joey Jennings, and I live here at Ward 8.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a few contracts from the city.
Okay.
And one of my contracts, I hired 142 DC residents.
Thank you.
In the schools.
Thank you.
I'm also working at Martin Luther King Library. However, I have a home-based business down the street.
Okay.
And I've grown. Would there be any opportunities for maybe my company to lease space to anything that I would do?
Okay. I don't know all the specifics of that, but I know Savangale would be happy to talk to you about it. Okay. All right. Who's next? Yep.
Yeah, Madam Mayor, I just want to thank y'all for supporting local businesses. It's my understanding that Good Foods is a co-op business model, and will you be supporting more co-ops as an economic empowerment for disenfranchised communities and less multinational corporations that come into our city?
Yes. All right. Thank you.